Hello and welcome to your Year 11 Parents Information Evening. Done a little bit differently this year because we're still unable to have you as a live audience. But we've put this presentation together so that you can still see what the year looks like ahead for Year 11 because if we're really honest, it is the most important year so far. I'd like to start with this key message here, and that is it's great to be back. It's great to have your daughters back working with us, and I would like to say what an amazing positive start that they have made back here at Haysfield. And many of them, it is very clear that they've been working hard at home during the lockdown period, and they're in a really good place, a really confident place to move forwards as we go through this year and start approaching the final themes of the GCSEs. This is your programme for the evening. I'm going to talk a little bit about the journey ahead, and very importantly, I'm also going to share with you what we've put in place with the COVID-19 situation, making sure that we're keeping your child safe at school. Mr. White's going to then join us, and he's going to talk about the final countdown, followed by Mr. Powell, who's going to share with you some very effective revision techniques. And then finally, Mrs. Spur, your daughter's Director of Achievement, is going to talk to you all about how you can help your daughter at home. We then move on to the GCSE presentations from our core subjects. So we will be joined with our English, Science and Maths leaders. So that's Mrs. Toohig, Mr. Holbrook and Mrs. Watley. Let's, before we move on to Year 11 though, let's just stop and say congratulations, because your daughters sat their first GCSE exam. Well, it didn't sit it at all, did they? They've got their first GCSE exam, their literature. And if you remember, that was a bit of a rocky road because at one point it looked like the exam boards weren't going to allow them to have a centre assessed grade. And then there was that U-turn, they changed their minds, and then we were able to hand out that result as if that was a examination. And they did ever so well. And the first thing I'd like to point out is all of the grades that we've given the girls were based on assessments that took place throughout the year, and actually I think are a really good reflection of what would have happened had your daughter sat that exam. And they did really well. 100% of them passed the exam. There were no failures. 90% of them got a grade 5 or above, and a staggering 96% of them got a grade 4 and above. And 1 in 2 of your daughters got one of those top grades of grades 7 to 9. And this was a record-breaking year. And the reason why I'm pointing that out is that there were, amongst all those success stories, still a few students who felt that they could have done better. And this is a true reflection of who they are as young people. They're really aspirational, really ambitious for themselves. So I am aware that some of them are going to have another go at the GCSE exam and retake that either in the November and the July, and we're supporting them to make sure that they can have another go and do as well as possible. So having that exam success in the bag there, I would like to say that takes us forwards into Year 11. And this is what I traditionally show parents, which always gets a little bit of a giggle, because Year 11 can feel a little bit like a roller coaster ride. And we see a variety of different faces throughout the year. Sort of we get moments of pure exhilaration, moments of pure fear. But everything that we have in place really is put there to ensure that we see more of the enjoyment and the more of the looking forward to sit in those exams than we see the fear and the anxiety. Because these are the sorts of faces that we are looking forward to at the end of this year, just the sorts of faces that we had at the end of 2020 with our GCSE results day. Lots of girls, lots of happy faces, knowing that they've got a brilliant set of GCSE results there that truly reflect their ability. And I'd like to share with you some of the results that we had for this year. So really, I'm showing you these graphs because I'm just reminding you about how much better achievement is at Haysfield than across schools nationally. And that really is that work that the girls have been engaged in since Year 7. This isn't a 2-year journey. It's not just starting now. The progress that your daughter's been making with us since Year 7 is what matters the most. And that is what explains the difference in our GCSE outcomes to what happens nationally. Our progress trends are really brilliant. So if you just have a little look about our basics, the number of girls that get a 4 or above, or even a 5 or above in English and Maths, and across all of their subjects, really, really high. And again, another set of fabulous results But if you compare these results to what your daughters achieved with their English literature, there are real indicators that next year could be even better still. I always talk about progress because for me progress is the most important measure because it takes into account the girls' different starting points. And as you can see, we've been raising our measures on progress as we've gone through the archives of time. And this year we did something very, very special. We reached that sort of hallmark, the true big impact of what we could possibly hope for as a school, and that was getting the +1 performance measure. That basically means that at Haysfield, the average GCSE grade achieved by girls here was 1 grade higher than what they could have achieved on average had they gone to another school. So that is a remarkable achievement. No performance tables this year, so that won't be there in the archives of history. But instead, we do find this in the archives of history. We were again awarded the top school in Baines, so Bath and North East Somerset, by the Real Schools Guide. This is a real accolade for me because the Real Schools Guide isn't just based on one set of data. It's not just the outcomes, although we all know that they are very important. It's actually other really important outcomes too. So things like attendance to school and really importantly, future destinations. So what they end up doing when they leave Haysfield and what sort of roles they go on to do there. So we were really, really, really delighted to be awarded the best school in Baines for the 2nd year running. We got 5 out of 5 in all of the different categories. So I do hope that you were able to see the article in the Bath Chronicle and actually take pride and success in that story yourselves because you are part of that journey too. Before I disappear and hand you over to Mr. White, I want to talk about the elephant in the room, which is, of course, the COVID-19 situation. And just to make sure that you understand the measures that we've put in place at school to keep your child safe and really about how you can help us a little bit at home too in reinforcing some of our key messages. So, as I've said, we have welcomed your daughter back to school. We're a few weeks in now, and you know, a lot of the systems that we've put in place are working really, really well. And I would like to say well done to our students because they have absolutely worked alongside us to making sure that everyone is kept safe. So these are some of the things that we've had a real focus on. It's been about minimising contact with individuals who are unwell. So there's things that you can do with us to help, please. We've been talking to the girls about cleaning their hands more often, good respiratory hygiene. Really importantly, we need to look at minimising contact between students in different year groups and maintaining social distancing. This is the one that you can help us with the most, and that is to make sure that nobody who's unwell comes into school. Okay, so please don't send your child to school if they've got any symptoms of COVID-19. It's really important that they stay at home and they get tested. All around our school, you'll see these posters here reminding the students to make sure that they've washed their hands. They're washing their hands on entry into school, in between lessons, before and after lunch, all sorts of things like that. So again, if you can just reinforce these messages at home, that would be great. The same thing with the catch it, bin it and kill it strategy as provided by the NHS service there. This is the one that you can help us with too, please, about minimising contact between students. So they have their year group bubble. Could you just remind your child, please, that bubble is just not within the school premises, it's on the way to and from school too. So unless they're walking with a younger or older brother or sister, they should really be walking with students who are in their year group bubble only. Okay. It's also really important, especially in Year 11, when they do have some stagger starts and some early finishes, that they arrive on the school campus and leave the school campus on the designated times. If there are reasons why they have to arrive earlier than anticipated, we do have some places that they can sit and stay, but they must stay within those areas. This is the thing that I did want to share with you that's come out recently, which is the rule of 6. So if you could just make sure that your daughter understands that outside of school she must comply by the rule of 6. It is in the same operation for students, for children, in the same way as it is for us as adults. And then the maintaining social distancing, so we do have all these measures in place. So really, any conversations that you have at home where they might say that, somebody got a bit grumpy because they walked down the corridor the wrong way, if you can just make sure that they understand why those rules and routines are in place, please, because we do now have quite strict one-way systems around the school, and it's all aimed to make sure that we can keep social distancing from each other. And thank you for all of the help that you've done in making sure that your daughter comes to school with a face covering. So I've been very impressed at how the girls have been being very responsible of wearing their face coverings in the communal areas and in large group gatherings. That's been really, really important for us, of making sure that everyone in our community is feeling safe. Lots of changes. I'm regularly updating you on the school bulletin. Today I've sent out a letter to everybody from NHS Track and Trace just to remind people about when to go and get a COVID-19 test and when it's not necessary, if you can read that letter. Just look out for our emails, please. It's really important that you do keep up to date now more than ever. If you do get a call from us with a no-caller ID, please answer your phone. It might be us asking you to come and collect your daughter because she's unwell and she's got symptoms and she needs to be taken home and arrange for a test. And my best way, as ever, that I always keep you up to date is through the weekly bulletin. So if you could just make sure that you just take 5 minutes to have a read of that every Friday, I would be very, very grateful. That's it from me. I'm sorry it's been so COVID-based, but I'm sure you understand that at this point in time, this is our number one safety concern for everybody. So thank you for going through those procedures with me. I'm now going to pass you to Mr. White, and he's going to talk about the exciting stuff, which is the final countdown. Thank you.
Hello, and for those who don't know me, and I would be insulted if you didn't, my name's Mr. White, I'm Deputy Head, and my real key role, and a role I'm very proud to carry out, is for achievement. So I will be working alongside Ms. Spur to really ensure that we give your daughter the best possible chances of success in the exams. I do bore them a lot by talking about ninjas, but they will be all fully aware of how to be the very best exam ninja by the time we get to those exams. It is about the final countdown, and obviously this has been one of the weirdest starts to a year, and obviously we would normally be in the middle of the two-year GCSE and talking about the successes of last year. But I would say there has been some tremendous success from last year, and the feedback from every teacher I've spoken to about Year 11 since they've been back in the building is how much they've been determined, how positive they've been. Their approach to coming back into classes and back into their studies has been fantastic. They have shown real resilience and real determination to succeed, and I know that we will really use that and support them and give them everything they can, all the tools that they need to be successful in the summer and as they work through this year. I'm going to run through some dates with you. There are a lot of dates, and it does get a little foggy as I go through the dates as we work through the year. I think what's key about this is there is a number of really key points for the vocational subjects, all those subjects where they have coursework elements, subjects where we have got still some of the modular exams in play, and a number of the child development students have got their first exam in a week's time, in October the 1st, so they will be being well prepped and will be ready to perform to their very best in that exam. Our first report comes out on the 20th of November, which gives a chance for staff to give some real good feedback in terms of where they think your daughter is and things that she needs to do to improve and to help her move up to the next level. We can't forget about the future in terms of post-16 destinations. We do have on the 11th of November the sixth form open evening, and that is going to be delivered obviously not in the normal way, but we're going to give the students the best opportunity to really think about where they're going into sixth form, what their opportunities are, what's available for them to really help make those decisions as best they can. Our parents' evening is on the 6th of October, and we are just exploring how we're going to deliver that. We know we've had some success with the Year 10 virtual parents' evening that we ran in the summer, so more information will be coming about that soon. As you look ahead through the year, the mock period starts just before Christmas. I know it's not a wonderful Christmas present to drop mocks either side of the Christmas holidays, but we do feel that that Christmas holiday period is important to help them take stock, do some revision, prepare themselves, and be able to perform better in those mock exams. We will do some in the week leading up to Christmas, hence the reason that we've put the 14th of December right up to the 15th of January. That timetable has been finalised as we work through, and we will get that to students, certainly, hopefully just after half term, where they'll have a clear overview of all the subjects. Everything will be on the website, and I'll mention that shortly. The handout is really important in January for them to experience getting results and for them to experience what it's like to receive those results. They've obviously experienced a version of that in the summer with the English literature results, but it is important that they get time to think about that experience, think about how they want to improve what they want to do. We've also got the revision fair in February, and the revision fair is part of our package of support both for students and parents. And the last 2 years has been an incredible success in terms of just providing opportunities, perhaps rather than just be sat in the roper as you would normally be now being talked to, but opportunities to really talk about individual issues, talk about things that you can do, and we provide so many resources as well as some lovely food on that evening. So we'll be advertising more about that, hopefully, as we move closer to that date. As we approach March, there is, and I will be sharing that in a minute, there's a lot of deadlines associated with coursework. So really for the students, it's a very busy period for any subjects where they have any coursework to be able to get that done out the way to the best possible levels so that they can then focus on their written exams for the rest of the year. In February half term, we often run workshops in some of those subjects to give them support for where they need to finish things off or do that work. And again, we'll publish those workshops relevant to the students who will be involved. As we move through into March, the Easter holidays comes up, obviously, into the April. And again, in the first week of the Easter holidays, that's when we run our revision workshops. So there will be a variety of different revision workshops set up by staff aimed at supporting students and really helping them in that final steps they're doing in their revision as they're on that final run into the main exams. Here's where things get a little foggy, because at the moment, Ofqual and the other exam boards have not published a clear dates for the GCSE exams. At the moment, Friday the 14th of May is still the scheduled start date for the written GCSE exam components. Now, this would normally run up to about the 25th of June. The talk has been about moving this forward 2 weeks to allow us to have more curriculum time, which means that we would start the GCSE exams just after half term, so effectively at the beginning of June. If we do that, that means that, this is why I've put a big question mark of July for the last exam, that obviously moves things forward from towards the end of June into the beginning of July. So if you're planning any getaways, as you may or may not be, depending on where we're at in this current situation, I would strongly suggest that we don't book anything too early because you may have to change your plans. So at the moment, we don't know anything more than it could be sometime in July. So I will update you. As soon as we get information from the exam boards, we will share that information and we'll publish that to everybody. I have put the prom in there. I think that's such an important part, and we will do our best to have that. And I know the prom committee are already actively thinking about what they're going to be doing. The current date for the GCSE results is the 26th of August. This is kind of the last week of the holidays. It means that there'll be a very busy time before enrolment to get into sixth form, basically the following week. I do want to keep putting up blue sky. I do talk to them about that feeling when they walk out their last exam, how that will feel, and imagine it'll be the best, most sunniest day, and they'll just be able to really relax and sit down in the sunshine and know that they've worked so hard and given everything they can. And that's what we constantly want them to think about, and think about the positives that are coming there. And it is a nice thing to talk about some positive things and things that they can be doing once they've got through that final exam. Key milestones and controlled assessments. There are clearly a number of subjects that have a coursework component, and you can see from the list that's relevant to your daughter. The interesting thing is for this year, for art, photography and textiles, there would normally be the exam assessed piece that they would do in a 10-hour, effectively 2-day sort of set of exams. That isn't going to happen in the same way. We will be giving some time for students to be doing quality work in one go on their art, textiles or photography, but they will be doing coursework based all the way. So this year it's a different take to perhaps how you've experienced it with older siblings, and it's kind of a one-off year with that. The other deadlines, as you can see, there's a lot of February, March. And again, it's our efforts is to make sure that we push and promote and give the students, to highlight the priority is to get the coursework done by February. Really, February half term is a really good milestone date to aim to get as much done as possible, depending on the coursework they're doing. And then that really does then free up the time to focus on their written exams. The best place to go and look for everything is the website. Our exams area under information on the website is constantly being updated. And as soon as we get information, we will get the information onto that area of the website. We'll obviously publicise that to the students and through the bulletins and information to yourselves. It is very much a case of watch this space, but I just want you to be assured that we will be working very hard to make sure that they are fully prepared for whatever has been thrown at them. And as I said at the start of this, their resilience has already been absolutely brilliant, and we know that they'll take on anything that comes at them with our support. I'd like to hand you over, before I go, I've got the LEAP sessions. Now there's a LEAP booklets that are out on the website, students can sign up, you can see what's available at the moment. This will grow, this offer. We've obviously, as we're working through where we are at the moment, we want to add more support. Some support will be at lunchtime. They do have some shorter lunches to enable us to stagger the day more, but we will be putting in more and more support as we go through the year. And now it's over to Mr. Powell.
Hello everyone. I think most of you know me. My name's Mr. Powell and I'm Head of Teaching, Learning and Curriculum here at Hayesfield School. And as one of the Deputy Head Teachers, I have the great privilege and honour of taking your daughter through her revision along with Miss White and Miss Spur as well, the new Director of Achievement for Year 11. Revision is such an important journey. It's about taking your daughter from where she is now to the success at the exams at the end of Year 11. And it's a journey that we're going to take with her. I love this statistic. It's really interesting that they are bombarded with information, and during this exam period that's going to be exactly the same case. And we have to think really carefully about how your daughter will retrieve information, how she will revise. Revision shouldn't look like this, and too often it does. Revision should, in fact, look like this. It should be dynamic. It should be an activity. They should be chunking their ideas, refining their ideas, linking them up, connecting them, and ultimately, and most importantly, they should be able to apply these ideas to make it work on the day in the exam. We've moved on so far from highlighting great notes and just moving them from one place to another. Ultimately, revision is a verb. It is to do something. It is an active thing that your daughter will need to do in order for examination success. But don't worry, there's some great resources out there to help her. If you haven't already discovered it, I'm sure your daughter will tell you about SAM Learning. It's a wonderful opportunity that daughters can reflect and they can self-assess each other as well. And GCSE Pod is a really important tool for that as well. Pixel Learning is a resource that we have on our website, and again, that's a good opportunity for your daughters to do something with all her revision materials, not just to blankly copy it from one place to another, but to actively apply it, just as she will do in the exam. And the new hot number at the moment is Seneca, and we're using Seneca, and all the girls are loving Seneca as well. If your daughter hasn't tried it yet, show her the website, have a play around with it. It's fantastic, and it's a great opportunity to practice some of those exam questions for all her subjects as well. All of this information can be found on the website if you go to the curriculum section, but most importantly, that GCSE academic support icon. Click on that and you can get through to a range of resources and ideas that we've put on there for you. Links to the curriculum, links to the revision materials that the subjects have put on there, and parent survival guides as well, particularly if this is your first time through. Really, my message today is about getting into good habits and not starting tomorrow, but starting now. As I said at the beginning, this is a journey, and that journey is helped by starting with strong foundations and starting back at the beginning of the course, thinking where was I and where do I need to get to, going back over those revision notes, going back through those revision books as well, and a steady flow of revision. This is a marathon over Year 11. We don't expect the girls to sprint in the last couple of weeks. What we expect them to do is do little and often over the course of the year. And if they do that, they will face their fears and they will enter the exams, as all our Hayesfield girls do, feeling confident and capable. I want to end with this picture. I love this picture. It's what success looks like. And we know with hard work and commitment and revision the right way, your daughter will have every success in her exams in Year 11. Take care.
Hello, my name is Miss Spur and I am the new Director of Achievement for Year 11. I'm delighted to be in this role and working together with you and your daughters to make sure she has a really successful and positive year in Year 11. As parents, you can have a really positive impact in your daughter's success during Year 11. It's really important that your daughter feels that she is able to approach her teachers and ask for help when she needs to. And you play a key role in encouraging her to do this. It's vital that students know exactly what they need to do to improve their grades. This might be related to a gap in their knowledge, or it might be related to an examination skill that they have yet to develop. But either which way, the teacher-student dialogue will play a central role in ensuring she is successful in Year 11. So we therefore want your daughter to have a very assertive attitude towards her learning, and this is something that you can help to instill in her. Organisation will be another key element in your daughter's success. So this relates to features like meeting deadlines, ensuring that her homework tasks are completed to the best of her ability, maintaining high standards when it comes to her folders and exercise books, for example. Ask questions about what she's studying in school at the moment. This will encourage your daughter to be proud of what she's able to accomplish within her school day. A realistic revision timetable is another critical element to her success. You know your daughter, so make sure she's setting a very realistic one, not setting herself up to fail. For example, planning to spend an unrealistic amount of time on maybe one or two subjects and neglecting the others. She needs to spread her time evenly between all of her subjects. Encourage her to take lots of short breaks. This will help sustain her motivation and focus. Lots of research has suggested that music can enhance one's studying skills. However, lots of research also suggests that it can be a real distraction. In reality, when it comes to it, her examination will be in a silent room. So we need to recreate that environment in which she will be actually sitting her exams. So make sure that she is making the right environment in order to study effectively. At Haysfield, we take on a holistic view in your daughter's success journey. So we want to include things like trying to maintain a healthy diet, maintaining good sleep habits, and that means that your daughter ideally should be going to bed at a consistent time every night. She wants to avoid distractions like her mobile phone or other smart devices. Ideally, these should be turned off before bedtime or at least put into night mode. Ideally, the phone should be out of reach just in case she should wake in the night, and we want to avoid the temptation of checking in with social media. Please don't get directly involved in their day-to-day stress. Simply be there to listen and be the voice of reason. Please don't give them permission to do badly. Always expect the best from them. We need them to develop the skill of resilience, and this will develop over time, and they will get very, very good at this particular skill, and this will be key to their success. Please be a picture of serene confidence, even though you might not be feeling that yourself. If you have that self-belief in your daughter and that really conveys through and she really knows that you're 100% behind her, she will be truly successful in Year 11. It's a good idea too to look at the bigger picture, plan for the future. What are the options ahead? So spend some time with your daughter researching university options. What are the courses? What are the requirements? Look at the apprenticeship route as well. There's lots to go for. There's a great deal that you can do as a parent. You can't essentially revise for them however much you'd like to. You can't ever take the exams for them, but you can be an invaluable part in making the exam process as smooth and as calm, as successful as possible. Please don't panic yourself, because that will encourage your daughter to panic, and that's what we want to avoid. We want a smooth, calm approach at all times where possible. Please don't hesitate to contact the school for further help and advice. My email is a.spur@hazefield.com, and my name is Miss Spur, and I'm the Director of Achievement. And I'm now going to hand you over to Miss Tuig, who will speak about English.
Hello, I'm Miss Tuig and I'm the Head of English at Hazefield School, and your girls will this year embark on their GCSE language course, having now got their GCSE English Literature grades. So we have the same team as we had for English Literature, nice strong team of people, and confidence is key to success. So our aim is to teach your girls as everything that we know about the English language exam and what they need to succeed, so that when they walk into that exam hall in the summer of 2021, they will be super confident and wanting to get the exam sat and done. So, success in previous years. So Year 11 language, over 30% achieved 7 to 9, and 70% 5 to 9, but your daughters, more importantly, achieved these results for their literature, which were absolutely amazing. So we had 20 grade 9s awarded, so 54% achieved that 7 to 9 grade, so over half the year group, and then 89% achieved 5 to 9 and 97% achieved 4 to 9. So they did amazingly well. And that's now what they work on. So all the skills that they used in their literature exams and studying literature throughout the last 2 years, they now move on to the English language because it interweaves. So all those skills they can use. So the course content. The English language ensures that your daughters read text closely and effectively, and they can now demonstrate a confident control of their own writing skills. It's really an exam of 2 parts. The first section tests their reading skills, and they have to pick out what makes successful writing. And then the second part, they show the examiners themselves how good they are at writing themselves, and they're using the skills they've picked out in other people, and then they put them into place. So we continue to read a wide range of texts across a variety of genres and from different periods in time. And that's important that your girls are encouraged to keep reading. Just because it's English language and it's not English literature, it doesn't mean to say down books they never need to read again. They absolutely do, because there are texts within the English language papers that they have to summarise and analyse. So we need to keep those skills keep those skills going. So the exam content, there are 2 papers, both 1 hour and 45 minutes, and like I've just said, the first section is reading and the second section is writing. The benefit of the English language exam is we know exactly what the questions require. So we don't know the text. So with literature, they obviously knew the text and they didn't know what questions they were going to be asked, but in English language we know exactly what each of those questions require of our girls. So there are 4 questions on reading in both papers and 1 question on writing. The difference being in paper 1, it's a creative piece, so it's a fiction text they're looking at, and then they do a piece of creative or descriptive writing. And in paper 2, it's non-fiction, and they're asked to compare 2 non-fiction texts. And then their writing question, their section B on paper 2, is more about persuasive writing. So being able to write for a certain audience and for a certain purpose. So that's in more detail for you to have a look at, the GCSE language course content and how it will be assessed. So it's 50%, both papers, and each section is worth 40 marks. So 40 and 40, 40 and 40 in the exam. So what do we read in GCSE English? So wider reading really helps. So like I've just said, if you can encourage your girls to read at home, that's brilliant. Especially 19th century literature, that will help them with the understanding of the sources in the exam. So the things that they have already been reading, things like Jekyll and Hyde, A Christmas Carol, Frankenstein, but also Alice in Wonderland, A Tale of Two Cities, any texts like that at all. And then also, like I said, the non-fiction is really important. So get them reading magazine articles and newspaper articles They often have like news feeds pop up on their phones, get them to look at that. And then a really nice thing to do is to have a look at the topic that's popped up on their phones, and then have a look if that appears in any of the other national newspapers and see how they're reported differently, because we start to then acknowledge that, you know, different people write for different purposes and for different audiences. So it's good to see that people have different intentions when they're writing, and that's really important for the non-fiction text. The spoken word that the government have now said doesn't need to be recorded, we don't need to worry about that, because Hazefield being Hazefield, we've recorded it already, and we did all that in year 10. So they've already got their assessment on spoken word, and that is done, and they've got their grade, which would either be a pass, a merit, or distinction. So that's not a worry at all. So, successful students in English, they have excellent SPAG skills. So they have that time put into their exam preparation. When they're looking at past papers, they build in that time to check and proofread their spelling and grammar. They have excellent attendance to all lessons and participation in all lessons as well. So being there and contributing really positively helps. Attending any additional revision sessions that we offer, that they stay focused and try their best. And just with their literature, that they keep their folders up to date, organised and safe. It is the worst thing in the world as an English teacher to have a student pop up in your classroom and say, I left my folder on the bus, or I don't know where my folder is. So they have to be very careful with their folders and making sure they know where they are, and they know that they're really organised, and also that they open them and look at it and look at the feedback that we've given. Super important. Before I go on to mention about the study aids and resources that you can see on the screen, of which there are many, it's important to tell you as well that we assess the students, we look at the assessments they do will be exam practice questions, so that when they go into that exam, they are really confident with what those papers look like. And so you will see those when they bring them home. So they will see exactly how much time they need for each question, because timing is absolutely key to success. You'll be able to see what kind of questions are being asked, what's required of them, and the format of the paper. So by the time they sit the exams, they will have had many examples and practices of what they need to do for that success. So the study aids and resources. Of course, it's not like literature where you can just reread a text, but you absolutely can revise for English language. So GCSE Bite Size is absolutely brilliant. The revision workbooks, each of your daughters have been given a CGP workbook, and that is designed by the AQA, by the exam board, and each page lends itself to a certain part of the exam, so they can plod their way through that and work their way through that. They will have homework set in that as well, so they need to be doing that, and that will all give them little bite-sized chunks of what to do for each question. SAM Learning is also, there's things on there. Spark Notes certainly for specific language. We've got GCSE Pod that also offers language pods, and of course Seneca Learning, which is very useful. So you can't revise for English, you absolutely can, and you absolutely should. It's really important. Talk to your daughters, find out what they're reading in class, find out what they're doing. If they say, oh, we've done a bit of retrieval work, ask them what that is. If they've said to you, we're looking at the structure, say to them, what do you mean by structure? They will hopefully tell you about the beginning, the middle, the end, the tone of it, the pauses, repetition, you know, all these key words that they need to be using in the exam. But talk to them about it, get them to explain it to you. The best way of learning something is to teach somebody else. So if they can teach you, that would be marvellous. And just for them to continue setting high standards for themselves and high standards of achievement. They all want to do well, and we all want them to do well, and I'm sure they will. So if you have any queries at all, please don't hesitate to contact me, and also join us on Twitter at HGSEngDept, and there I post, especially leading up to the exams, lots of revision tips and hints and things that I've seen from different various media sessions and revision information. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Watley, Head of Science. You probably met me before. I'm going to be talking today about where our students have come from and where they're going. They've obviously had a quite a difficult Year 10 experience, but if they've completed all the work, we've managed to keep them on track. The terminal exams that will be taking place next year won't be changing. No specification content has been removed or added by the exam board. So we're still going to be sitting those terminal exams at the end of next year. The only thing the exam board have announced that will be changed in light of events this year is that the hands-on practical work that they'd have expected to take place will be facilitated by a lot of demonstrations. Now, Hayesfield being Hayesfield, we're going to see if we can get as much hands-on experience as we can so that the girls have the biggest opportunity of getting those exam question marks next year. They will be sitting terminal exams at the end of next year, and they'll be sitting 6 terminal exams. This doesn't change whether they're doing the combined science or the separate sciences. If they're doing the separate sciences, the exam papers will be 2 for biology, 2 for physics, 2 for chemistry, all of 1 hour 45 minutes each. The combined science will be 1 hour 15 minutes, but they'll still have the same set of exams, 2 for biology, 2 for chemistry and 2 for physics. Students will be sitting higher tier or foundation tier, depending on what class they've been in. Your daughter should already know what she's taking. Gradings are different for separate science and combined science. Those doing separate sciences will get 3 separate grades, 1 for each subject, so 1 for biology, chemistry and physics. Those doing combined science, the trilogy course as it's called, will get 2 grades based on their 6 exams. To succeed, your daughter needs to still be doing what she's done previously, which is completing homework and classwork to the best of her ability, asking her teachers for help if it's needed. We've got some LEAP sessions that will be starting shortly, so she's welcome to come along to any of those that she signs up. We've got 1 each for the 3 different subjects. She will also need to access revision materials on the Q drive. We've had these in place for some years now, and the girls that access them are the ones that are most successful. So they should know where they are. They're found in @Science, and then inside there's a series of folders that are labelled with the titles to guide them to the folder that they need. One we'd recommend starting with are the Pixel revision materials. Inside there are a variety of resources that they can use based on what they enjoy doing. So there's like revision guide material with an overview of topics, which gives them lots of information, the information they need to know and be able to recall for the exam. That's also coupled with questions that encourage them to test their memory recall. There's obviously answers that go with those as well. For students who don't like that, there's the Pixel revision mats, which they can put information on and use them to help them as they answer exam questions. Exam question practice is going to be key to their success. So if they go into the exam question practice file, they can see that we have split it into chemistry, biology and physics, so the 3 disciplines. Then if they choose a file and go inside, they can see that the separate science is in there, as well as the trilogy, the combined science questions. Once they go into that file, as they've chosen their correct GCSE file, it's been split up into the different topics. I've chosen chemistry because chemistry is my favourite subject. If they choose a topic, they can then look inside that file, and the exam questions have been split up according to their grades. The girls need to be looking at aiming for their target grade, so they need to choose questions that are appropriate to them. If they need to have a little bit of boost of confidence, They can start on some of the easier ones and then move on to the harder ones. Please bear in mind, parents, though, there are more questions than the girls can ever hope to do, so they need to pick and choose those questions carefully. If they're not sure or they've lost track of what they need to know for the exams, there's personal learning checklists. These are also on the school website that they can print off and use to RAG rate themselves. Homework is going to be set according to how many GCSEs they're taking. Combined science students can expect to do 2 hours a week. Separate science students should expect to do 3 hours a week. Some of this should be spent independently learning and working on those resources in the Q Drive, but there will be centrally set common homeworks for all of the students, and these will be set centrally by the subject leaders. So I'll be setting the chemistry, Mr. Fuller will be setting biology, and Mr. Atwood will be setting physics. So if you see a teacher's name on your Sims app that you don't recognise, that's because the heads of subject have been setting them. Teachers, class teachers, will be setting homeworks for their classes on an individual basis, so they'll be setting them according to the needs of the class. So if they find out there's a topic, for example, that was done during lockdown and the girls haven't quite got it, then they will be setting work there. For any students and parents who are worrying about work that was done during the school closure period, we'll be revisiting those topics during the course of the year just to top up the girls' knowledge. So, lastly, what else do they need to do? They need to seek help. There's no point sitting at home or being in school if they're stuck, so they need to seek help from family, friends and teachers. They also need to start their revision as early as possible. So they need to start reviewing the work that they've done in Year 9 and Year 10. If they haven't bought a revision guide, then now is the time to do it, because they've got workbooks at the back of them that will help them to review the work done previously. We obviously are going to be marking, giving feedback to the girls, and we need them to act on that feedback. GCSE, SAM Learning, Seneca will all be available as well to support them. If you have any problems, then contact me via email on my email address.
Hello, for those of you who I have not met before, my name is Rob Holbrook and I'm the Head of Maths here at Haysfield. I'm just going to give you a quick update as to where we are in terms of the teaching of the maths curriculum with your daughters. I will look at sort of the new GCSE, although it's not that new for many of us now, and what that looks like, because it will be different for parents and what they're used to. And obviously think about how we can support your daughters moving forward throughout this year. So we started our curriculum teaching for the GCSE back at the start of Year 9. That's been the case for a few years now, and the reason for this is that it allows us plenty of time to sort of personalise the learning for your daughter in the run into the exam period. That means that we're virtually all the way, certainly 4/5 of the way through all of the curriculum, and by the January mock exams we will have completed teaching the entire curriculum, both through foundation and to higher students. Setting and tiers is going to be a sort of discussion that will need to be had for a few people over the next few months, and those changes can take place any time really between now and the other side of the January mocks. I'd like to not make any further changes though beyond that time. The higher and foundation, so for some students, particularly around the grade 4, 5, 6 boundary, there is potentially a question mark as to which is the best pathway for them. And obviously I will be using my experience to help students and indeed yourselves to make the right decision. In the past, we've always had a majority of students taking higher. Here at Haysfield, we continue to have more than 50% of students take the higher paper. However, it needs to be aware that nationally it is a 50-50 split now. Really, the criteria for taking higher sits on the potential of achieving a grade 6. So if through assessments that we run through the first 2 terms and then the mocks come January, it's not looking likely that a grade 6 is possible, then I might be suggesting that a foundation tier will be the best route forward. In terms of the end of year exam and what might happen, there's lots of ifs and buts, of course, but at the moment, the guidance, the government guidance is very clear for maths that there are no changes in terms of the assessment. So because of the excellent work the students undertook during lockdown and the extra time that we have post mock exams, we're on course to complete our curriculum as per our normal schedule, and then we do still have about a 6-month window to sort of fine-tune the learning of all of our students. So as a reminder about what the new curriculum looks like compared to what we were used to when we went through school, obviously we have the new grading system. The higher tier runs between grades 4 to 9, and then foundation tier runs between grades 1 to 5, so the grades 4 and 5 are the overlap between the two. Just do need to make clear that it makes no difference as to what tier a student sits. Grade 4 is the same and the grade 5 is the same, irrespective of what paper they actually end up taking. It is not information that they will need to disclose or will be on their GCSE certificates. So as you can see, the issue with the higher paper is there's nothing below a grade 4, and any student not making the minimum mark for a grade 4 would be awarded a U, so a fail. So that is the main reason that we would look at those students on the 4-5 boundary very, very carefully over the coming months and make the right decision, and therefore, the decision being, is there potential for a grade 6 for the higher students? And if that's not the case, then perhaps the foundation curriculum is the best route forward for them. In terms of the questions that we see, what we have on the new style papers is a lot more words to sort of digest and a lot more problem solving. So just a couple of examples there, one from a foundation paper, one from a higher paper. As you can see, the first question there, there's a lot of information given in context, and it's actually down to the student entirely to understand what is being delivered and then work out what mathematical process there's to go through, rather than sort of an old-fashioned question where it would just be simply solve this equation or complete this calculation. On the right, we see a lot of this type of question where actually methods are provided, but they're incorrect. So there's asked for clarification and justification and reasoning and identifying where things have gone wrong. The assessment itself is broken into 3 1.5-hour papers. The first paper, paper 1, is always the non-calculator paper. The next 2 papers, papers 2 and 3, are calculator required. They're all equally weighted, so a third for each. Essentially, the marks are totaled, and then the grade is worked out from the total out of 240, so each paper being out of 80. What do we need from your students? What will we be supporting them over the next few months so that they do succeed? Well, the main thing is that they continue to work hard. They continue to follow our guidance, our instructions in terms of homeworks and classworks. They will be running assessments outside of the mock exams in January and again in March. There are normal termly assessments that we run, but they are slightly different this year. So right the way from year 7, we've always run termly assessments, and the grades which come out of those assessments place them on a flight path. So from year 9 onwards, your daughter will have been receiving, for every assessment they've done in maths, a grade which is essentially a predicted grade. So for example, a student that we expect or anticipate to achieve a grade 6 overall, we will have hopefully seen grade 6s, predominantly grade 6s, or around those sorts of grades, throughout all of their assessments from the start of year 9. However, in year 11, we assess differently. We assess using full exam papers, and we grade those according to official mark schemes. So we will be running an in-class assessment at the end of term 1. We will be providing a revision list for those students next week, so that they know exactly what content is on the paper, but it's then down to them to revise that content ahead of the assessment itself. Those assessments produce a current grade. So because we are using a full paper and an official mark scheme, they will produce a current grade. So for example, that student who we've been predicting for a grade 6 right the way through, it's quite likely that for the first term 1 assessment of year 11, they might only achieve a grade 4. Now we've been delivering this message in class, and this is a message I want to sort of deliver to you all now is that this is expected and anticipated and shouldn't be seen as a sudden deviation from being on track for that grade that we've been predicting all along. What it does allow us to do, though, is have firm and clear data and information on them as to where they're currently at. This has always proved successful in the past, but it's always a case of just managing the sort of results handout at that point. So hopefully that message is nice and clear. If students are getting stuck, as they have done for 4 years now, if they're getting stuck, they do need to come and get help. They need to be the independent learner. One thing that we've already noticed in the first couple of weeks here this September is that the Year 11s have come back with bucket loads of independence, okay, and they are determined. And I think one thing that they learnt through lockdown is how to actually help themselves when they're struggling with their work and knowing what to do. So coming to ask for help, coming up to the maths office, coming to speak to me or any of their teachers to get help, to ask for friends, to even ask parents, dare I say. We also want to promote a little often approach to revision, hence revision lists being given every term for each term the assessment. Trying to cram it all in just prior to a main assessment is never the best way forward. So we really want the revision process to have started already, but if not, to start straight away now. And of course, we provide question level analysis of all of their full assessments and their mock exams. So they are always being pointed in the direction of areas where they need to make improvements and how they can go about making those improvements as well. And they mustn't shy away from them. The only way that they will improve their grades is to improve the weaker areas. We've provided over the last few years many support materials, but we've just actually received an offer on a new revision guide and indeed a revision workbook. Now this has come from Pearson, who are the Edexcel exam board. So this is from the people who will be writing this summer's exam. They've actually have given us an offer as a school of a revision guide and a workbook for just £5.40 for the pair, where it should be £5.99 each. So that is set up on ScoPay, and if that is something that you would like to place an order for, then please go on to ScoPay and do so. Just be aware that you will need to click the correct one. There is a higher or a foundation version. That will be available until the 18th of October, at which point it will come off of ScoPay and I will place the order so that all the students can receive their books after the half-term. If there's any other offers that I receive as head of faculty for materials and support materials between now and the summer, I will advertise them through the school bulletin, so please keep an eye on that because there might be some good revision materials coming your way. We're all used to Maths Watch now, especially after the lockdown. Incredibly useful to support the learning of our girls through that period. But now its focus is there for revision. So it is our #1 revision tool, and therefore it should be used. It can be used on tablets, it can be used on mobile phones as well as on home computers. And every student knows how to log in. So if they ever say to you that they don't know how to log in, then please contact me or contact their maths teacher immediately, because they certainly should know. There is also a lot of materials on the Q drive. So if you go onto the Q drive via Utilise, go into the maths, and then there's a GCSE section. There's a lot of information both for students and for parents that I've received over the years from the exam board regarding the maths examination and what to expect, as well as the revision materials that we receive we place on there too. Additional support, we are running a LEAP just for Year 11 this year. In the past it has been combined with maths mentors, so from Year 12s. Fortunately, under the current restrictions we cannot do that. As soon as those restrictions are lifted, fingers crossed, it won't be too long, then we will get the Year 12s back in there to act as mentors for our Year 11s. But myself and Mr. Faust will be running LEAP sessions on Mondays and Thursdays just for Year 11s to help with the exam prep. We are hoping as well to get our lunchtime lectures up and running again soon. The issues again regarding lunchtime make it a bit more challenging this year than previous, but we will get there. And the lunchtime lectures have been very popular in the past, particularly in the winter months, because in essence, once the students have picked up their lunch, they are invited to come and just sit and listen to one of the maths team lecture on a particular topic. And it is our intention this year to choose topics which were covered as part of the curriculum through the end of year 10, so during the lockdown period. And they can sit there, eat their lunch, ask questions if they wish to, but otherwise just sit there and listen to a lecture on a variety of topics. So hopefully that will come up very soon. The revision lists I've mentioned, every term assessment will have a revision list. Those term ones are coming out next week, and so throughout the term, if the student has nothing to do for homework, shall we say, which is never the truth, they've always got a revision list anyway to fall back on for that term's assessment. We use the blue sheets, as we've done with all of our assessments, that provides the question level analysis of each paper that they sit, how well they've done on each question, and identifying the areas they need to improve. As I mentioned, the Maths office's doors always open for any students to come in and seek help from any one of us. Doesn't matter if we're their teacher or not, we will support them. We have Christmas and mock exams where we will provide detailed analysis of what they have done. And I've put in question marks here, June 2021, but there is the weekend practice paper session. So we have always run a Saturday morning invite, come in and go through a predicted paper. That sits between papers 2 and 3. By the time the students have sat 2 papers, we've got a fair idea of the topics that will be coming up in paper 3. And we rush on the Friday afternoon after that paper 2 to produce a predicted paper and get that printed ready for the Saturday morning. Now I've put in, it's usually in June, obviously at the moment we don't know exact dates for this year's exam period, but we will be providing something similar. So again, watch the school bulletin for notices regarding that. It's really, really important that if students can come along to that session, we can give them a big, big boost for that last paper. And as I've mentioned earlier, please check for the GU drive because there are huge amounts of resources, hours and hours and hours of past papers, and just general information on there as well. If you'd like to contact me directly, that's my email address. But otherwise, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Holbrook. That wraps up our presentations to you. I do hope that you found them all very informative and a little bit enjoyable even. If you do have any more questions or queries, please don't hesitate to contact us by using our information@haysfield.com and we'll respond very quickly to any of the questions that you've raised. Meanwhile, thank you very much. Goodbye.